Good afternoon and welcome back to TMNtv News. I'm Kerrigan Hutton and the date is October 30th, 2023. Today we'll be giving you an update on some international news as well as local news. Robert Card, the man responsible for killing 18 people and injuring 13 in a Maine bowling alley and bar, was found dead Friday evening. Prior to his body being found, Card had avoided authorities for 2 days following the mass shooting. Here are some details of the shooting and the search for Card, courtesy of CBC News.
Katie Simpson is in nearby Lisbon, Maine, where Robert Card was found. And Katie, what are police saying tonight?
The 48-hour manhunt is finally over, Ian. It was around 7:45 Friday evening when Maine State Police found the body of Robert Card with an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. It happened right here in the community of Lisbon Falls. It's about a 25-minute drive from Lewiston, and it's not far from that boat ramp that police had been searching around. That, of course, is where Card's car was found abandoned Wednesday in the hours after that deadly shooting rampage. Once the information was confirmed, state and local officials called an emergency news conference to make the announcement official.
Like many people, I'm breathing a sigh of relief tonight, knowing that Robert Card is no longer a threat to anyone.
We're going to continue to work. We're going to persevere. And we've become better people for it in terms of working together as teams. We've learned a lot from some mistakes. We've won a lot of accomplishments this evening.
Multiple U.S. news agencies say that Card's body was actually found near the recycling business where he used to work. That's actually just behind us. Earlier Friday, that area was not cordoned off. We as a CBC News crew had actually spent some time down there. But once that discovery was made, we saw a number of police cars sort of scream down the streets, cordon off that area. It's now being protected as this investigation continues, Ian.
Katie, for 2 days, a dangerous gunman was on the loose. Residents in lockdown. It must be such a relief for them tonight.
Well, this community has not had the opportunity to grieve publicly or come together and share the terrible experience that they've all gone through. That's normally something you see with these major American events. There are vigils, there are community gatherings to show support for the survivors and the families of those who lost loved ones. Expect that to start in the days to come, and this healing process can really start to begin. But again, police are focusing so much of their energy right now, at least on this search or on this investigation, cordoning off this area as they try to piece together the final moments of Robert Card's life. He, of course, was an Army reservist. He was a trained firearms instructor. And again, he's accused of murdering 18 people in a rampage at 2 different locations in a small community of Lewiston. This community is now going to try to start that grieving process now that there isn't an immediate threat to public safety.
Much more to learn on this story. Katie, thank you very much for your reporting.
According to NPR, the victims range in age from 14 to 76. After being notified of Card's death, President Biden issued a statement in which he said, "Americans should not have to live like this. I call on Republicans in Congress to fulfill their obligations to keep Americans safe." An Alaskan airline flight from Everett, Washington to San Francisco was nearly hijacked by an off-duty pilot last Sunday. The pilot, Joseph Emerson, was hanging out in the cockpit, as it was common for off-duty pilots to do, when he allegedly tried to pull 2 handles that would shut off the valves in the wings, cutting off fuel to the engines. In a statement, Alaskan Airlines said that the crew acted quickly to replace the handles and prevent fuel starvation. Emerson then asked the flight attendants to restrain him before the plane made an emergency stop at Portland International Airport. Emerson is now being charged with 83 accounts of attempted murder and reckless endangerment, 1 for each person on the plane. In his defense, Emerson claims that he had not slept in over 40 hours and was on psychedelic mushrooms, impairing his judgment. And after weeks of division and 4 different nominations, Republicans finally came together to elect a new Speaker of the House. Mike Johnson, Republican representative from Louisiana, was elected Wednesday evening by Republicans after rejecting his nomination earlier that day. Tom Emmer was chosen Wednesday morning before dropping out, fearing that he would not have enough support from far-right Republicans in his party. Johnson has only been in Congress since 2017, making him the most inexperienced House Speaker in 140 years. As for his views, he has been outspoken on opposing same-sex marriage, abortion, and LGBTQ+ rights. He was also a part of the defense team during former President Trump's claims of election fraud. And earlier this month, the Political Science Honor Society, Pi Sigma Alpha, hosted an informational panel on the Israel-Hamas war. Our reporter, Eleanor Couchman, spoke with one of the panelists, Mayan Paz, a Fort Hays student and Israeli citizen. More from Paz's perspective, there is no achievable peace with Hamas in control of the Gaza Strip. However, he also discussed the issues with the Israeli military in the West Bank, which is estimated to have a Palestinian population of nearly 3 million.
It's important to separate the West Bank in Israel and the Gaza Strip. The West Bank is allegedly controlled by the PLO, but when it's in reality there is a lot of settlers and Israeli military forces in the West Bank. In Gaza Strip, there are no Israeli presence at all. Israel evacuated themselves from Gaza Strip in 2005 by Israel will. They pull out all the soldiers and the civilians from the Gaza Strip. The Gaza Strip is completely controlled by Hamas and the Palestinians. In the West Bank, it's a very problematic area. Israel, in my opinion, has to get out of the West Bank. That is one of the important steps in order to achieve peace. I think the settlers in Israel are a danger to the existence of Israel as a Jewish and Israeli state. I think you can see that they provoke a lot of violence against Israelis, even not settlers.
More on this story can be found on TigerMediaNet.com. According to NPR, the Israeli military is now on its 4th day of intensified ground operations in Gaza. This includes airstrikes on Hamas targets such as weapon depots and missile launch sites. While internet and phone services have been restored, food and medical supplies are scarce for the Palestinian people. There is also a lack of fuel, which has shut down a third of the hospitals. The death toll in Palestine is now past 8,000. And on Friday, October 20th, students and staff were notified of a suspect on the run from the Hays police. The decision to send messages to students is determined by a critical independent policy group, which includes the University Chief of Police, the Vice Presidents of the University, and the Chief Communications Officer, Scott Kaysen. Here's what Kaysen said about the thought process behind the notifications that weekend.
We have a responsibility to communicate what we know, when we know it, when it won't interfere with ongoing operation. So, and then update that when we learn something new. So the way that we sort of do it is, I like to at least do an update every hour on something that's going on. Obviously, we know something ahead of time. If, for instance, we would have said the suspect had changed clothes or something like that, I would say, hey, this suspect would. But if we have no updates, then we just sort of say status quo. We got a little bit later on Friday afternoon, or towards the end of the day Friday, and the information we were getting was that the person had left Hays. So made the decision not to keep those alerts going. I couldn't tell the campus community it's all clear. So we didn't know. So we didn't keep pinging people's phones and whatnot. So Saturday morning is when I heard from Chief Pierce that they caught the guy. So that's why I put out the Saturday morning alert to say all clear.
To send the notification, Fort Hays used a system called RAVE, which Kaysen said is used at many different universities across the nation, as well as Fortune 500 companies. The phone system pulls phone numbers and email addresses from Workday, so Kaysen emphasized the importance of making sure your contact information in Workday is accurate. For more information, visit TigerMediaNet.com. And in weather, this weekend is very chilly, but the good news is that warmer weather is on the way. Unfortunately, it will still be cold this week for trick-or-treaters and Halloween lovers. Tuesday is set to be the coldest day of the week with a high of only 42 degrees and a low of 23. Temperatures will be around 37 degrees at 7 p.m. that night. Friday will be the warmest day of the week with a high of 70 degrees and a low of 41 degrees. As always, to stay up to date with this forecast as it changes, visit kwch.com. And when we come back, Caden Sanders has sports.
5, 4, 3.
We know you'll love what you see here on our campus in Hayes, America.
With over 200 academic programs, small classroom sizes, and a 96% success rate, we will make sure you get the tools you need to succeed.
We are proud to offer you 120 clubs and student organizations, over 300 different intramural activities, and countless other ways to get involved here on campus.
As the most affordable four-year institution in the entire state, we are excited to offer you the best value in education anywhere. Not to mention our robust scholarship programs to help minimize that stress of paying for college.
We hope you enjoyed Tiger Nation, and we can't wait for you to see yourself here.
Welcome back. I'm Caden Sanders, here to bring you your weekly sports update. After winning the first individual MIAA title for the women's cross-country program, Reagan Hodson is now preparing for the Central Regional Meet. There, she will look to qualify for nationals for the second year in a row. TMN's Reagan Neufeld sat down with Hodson to talk about the race.
I'm super excited. I'm nervous, it's a big race, and I'd like to make it to nationals again, so that's some pressure there. I think as a team we have a chance of doing super well, so I'm hoping everybody can get healthy and we can race well, and I'm excited. I feel like sometimes people get to this point in the season where they're just tired, and for me I feel like this is when I get the most excited because it's super competitive and we get to see a bunch of people we haven't seen before, and so I enjoy getting to race against new people.
More from Hodson can be found on TigerMediaNet.com later this week. The Fort Hays State volleyball team finished their home schedule for the season this past week as the Tigers welcomed Washburn and Newman. The team collected 2 more wins as the Tigers took down Newman in 3 straight sets to sweep Newman on senior night. In the match versus Washburn, the Tigers earned their first top 25 win since 2016. And the first win over Washburn at home since 2004. It took the Tigers 4 sets to defeat the Ichabods, but this week the Tigers will be on the road taking on Missouri Western and Northwest Missouri State. The men's soccer team only competed in 1 game this past week, but a significant one. The Tigers welcomed 24th ranked Northeastern State to FHSU the soccer stadium. With the win, Fort Hays would be clinched in the GAC MIAA tournament. Fort Hays won 2-0, clinching their spot. They host current 1 seed and 16th ranked Southern Nazarene to Hays this Thursday for senior night before going on the road to Rogers State to finish out the regular season. The women's soccer team has finished up their regular season this past week as they went 1-1 on the weekend, as Fort Hays State lost to league champions Washburn 1-0, but then won against UNK 1-0. The Tigers will host the first round of the MIAA tournament in back-to-back years. This is the first time in program history that a team has been able to host in back-to-back years. The Tigers will take on Northeastern State at home on Friday. The football team came away with a win this past weekend against Central Oklahoma in the Hall of Fame game. The Tigers showed up and showed out for all 4 quarters, winning 34-0 over the Broncos. Coach Brown said the team played well, earning 472 yards, 220 coming from the ground, while 252 came through the air. On the defensive side, the Tigers earned 2 sacks, 3 interceptions, with 2 of them coming from cornerback Kobe Rome. The Tigers moved to 7-2 on the season and currently have a 5-game winning streak. But the Tigers will be put to the test this week as the Tigers take on 8th-ranked Central Missouri on the road. After this break, Kerrigan will be back with more local and campus news.
When you transfer to Fort Hays State University, you discover unmatched affordability, convenience, and powerfully supportive faculty and staff, all with a determination that matches yours. Complete your degree and leap forward in your life and career with Fort Hays State University Online. The best value in education anywhere.
Tiger Media Network is the Student Convergent Media Lab hub for Fort Hays State. We live broadcast all of Fort Hays' home athletic events.
Our program is a hands-on program where we give kids ample opportunity to do anything from writing stories to audio and video projects to sports productions to newscasts. The sky's the limit. We tell the students whatever they can think of or dream of, we'll find a way to try to pull it off to give them that experience.
I am a junior at Fort Hays State University and I'm a photography major. So I've done cameras, I've done tech directing, video board, a little bit of directing. I really enjoy being able to have an eye for that. It's something I've really enjoyed learning about through my 3 years here with photography. To me, photography and even just video and broadcasting kind of go hand in hand.
The future is with the kids, and the new tech gear that we have fits great into our educational model of a great learning environment for the students.
I really like the TriCaster. I like how you can make it as simple as you want, or you can go as complex as you need it to be. You know, you can pretty much do whatever you want with it.
It's a good experience. It teaches you how to work as a team, how to kind of lead things on your own.
Well, we wanted something when it came to giving our students opportunity that was going to be easy to use and applicable in a lot of different scenarios. And that's what we felt like with TriCaster and New Tech really offer. You get a really good experience and it's something you could easily get into.
When we pull off a great production or they provide a great replay angle for a referee in a crucial instant, that makes you proud.
Once you start working with the TriCaster, you can really understand exactly what's going on behind the scenes.
And now it's my favorite thing to do.
Welcome back. The City Commission met last Thursday and heard a presentation about the R9 Ranch and its enrollment in Walk-in Hunting Access Program. The R9 Ranch is a 6,700-acre ranch located southwest of Kinsley that the city purchased in order to obtain water rights for the area. In addition to supplying water to Hays and Russell, the land is also a prime quail hunting area, according to property manager Chris Smith. By enrolling in the walk-in hunting programs, hunters in Kansas can hunt on the property from November 1st through January 31st. And the city will receive over $24,000 in exchange for allowing the public on the property. More on this can be found at tigermedianet.com. And last Wednesday was the Majors and Graduate Programs Fair hosted by the Center for Student Success. There were over 50 booths in attendance for students to explore their major and degree opportunities. I spoke to Nikki Brown, coordinator of the event, who said this event is a career advising event that has representation from every single academic department. This is to help students to start thinking and evaluating their educational plan. For the full story, visit tigermedianet.com. 5-3 posters made by students in the History of Graphic Design class are currently on display in the atrium of the art building. The posters are entries in the 16th annual Let Your Voice Be Heard competition, which each year aims to shine a light on various political and social issues. According to Kim Wirtz, a senior in the graphic design program, many of the issues depicted in the posters are sensitive topics. However, she said she and her classmates do not think of their different viewpoints as a problem. Voting, which is open to the public, ended on Friday. Winners of the competition were announced today, but the posters will still be on display until Friday. More photos and information on the competition can be found on tigermedianet.com. Fort Hays State Athletics welcomed 8 new members into the Tiger Sports Hall of Fame on Saturday. The inductees for this year was Dale Botopka, Jim Belch, Steve Bomer, Richard and Tanita Augustine, Daniel Traffus, Sean Baer, Jamie Dreyer, and Tyrone Shepard. President Tisa Mason congratulated all the inductees for their contributions to the university over the years.
And when you think about it as a society, when we really need inspiration, by and large, we turn to athletes because they represent to each and every one of us grit and determination, perseverance and triumph over adversary. And that is the same characteristics that tell the story of the history of this great institution. And so that's why I arrive here every single year on the edge of my seat, so eager to hear your stories of inspiration and excellence. I just want you to know how very proud we are of you, not only when you were a student, but how you've gone on to shape our world today.
The full live stream of the ceremony can be found on Tiger Media Network YouTube channel. In today's world, so many of us rely on our smartphones on a daily basis, but for some, that is not the case. TMN's reporter Eleanor Couchmore looked into life without a smartphone looks like for FHSU students and what resources are available to them.
Everyone has a unique relationship with phones. If you're like 70% of YouTube users, you're probably watching this video on a phone right now, but for some, phones are little more than a calling device. For students like senior John Carter, though, phones are still out of reach, and the reason is quite simple. He's been homeless nearly a dozen times.
I mean, the thought process of even replacing that cell phone that had gotten broken in the 5th grade wasn't even a thought that crossed our mind because it wasn't important.
In our age of ubiquity, it's easy to forget that smartphones are a recent phenomenon. So if you're like Carter, how do you survive Fort Hays State University without a cell phone? It goes without saying the first order of business is to find the next best thing at the Forsyth Library.
You can check out tablets, laptops, projectors, cameras, all those connectors that hook one device to another for free for 72 hours.
Learning Commons coordinator Andy Tinknell has been in charge of equipment checkout for 8 years now, and although he says the service has changed alongside technology at large, it will probably never extend to cell phones.
You're going to have that cell phone registered in someone's name, and the accounts are all based on your accounts rather than our account. So
as such, a laptop in 3-day increments will have to work. Before logging in to do any homework, though, the first hurdle makes itself known.
Dual factor authorization thing, it just stresses me out every time.
Duo has been mandatory for just over a year now, and for 99% of students, that entails having a cell phone handy at least once per week per device. The Luddite-friendly solution is generating a bypass code at Tiger Tech, and that means walking to Tomanic Hall regardless of where you are and what the weather is like. A notion which might make classes awkward. Servicer Tommy Ryan says he's never seen someone request a bypass code, but it works. More accurately, it works Monday through Friday at 8 to 4:30. A wake-up call if your assignments are due over the weekend or if you have a class that begins after 4:30. Fortunately, Duo does let you input whatever phone number you want, so you could hypothetically make arrangements. Although I disavow this method.
Can you imagine actually like working and then you get a call and they're like, hey, Duo wants to sign in.
For that matter, right outside of Tiger Tech, students can readily access a payphone. A payphone. A pay. It hasn't been there in over a decade.
Everything's about profit for the people who are supplying the payphones. And I don't think that there's enough profit there for them to be able to supply those. I think it's going to be a loss situation.
All of that is just for homework though, so what if you want to get engaged? Get used to QR codes. For the bulletin board on October 19th, 7 posters used QR codes and 3 posters used exclusively QR codes. An unfortunate hurdle, but still a far cry from their near-exclusive implementation in the Let Your Voice Be Heard contest at the Schmidt Foundation Center for Art and Design. That includes the poster which calls for an end to cell phone dependence.
I definitely have seen close friends of mine become so reliant on their technology that they can't see when it's harming them, and it's negatively impacted my relationship with them.
Students may not have a cell phone for any number of reasons. Maybe they can't afford it, maybe they just left it in their car. Maybe they don't even want a cell phone for the sake of religion or ideology. For what it's worth, it is still possible to live without it at FHSU.
Just adding another like $50 payment for service plus so much money to buy the cell phone itself just seemed ridiculous and pointless, especially when I could contact people for free.
Reporting for Tiger Media Network, this is Eleanor Couchman.
And that is a wrap on today's TMNtv News. To stay up to date with local, state, and national news, visit TigerMediaNet.com, as well as our social media pages. Thank you for watching. Have a fun and safe Halloween. I'm Kerrigan Hutton, and we'll see you next time.